9 million Ghana cedi financial loss to the state. And then the 3news.com also says, Shrag overstepped its jurisdiction in former GRA boss Amishadai probe. That's lawyer Brakun saying so. And then we've started a campaign in respect of the rice glad that is threatening, Ghana as far as food security is concerned. And the threat by farmers to boycott this year's Farmers' Day celebration because of this development. And that is how the Ghanaian Times newspaper reported. It says, rice farmers renew calls for adequate investment in local production. Channel 1 News says, Agri-Business Chamber declares grain crisis, seeks 3-month rice import ban. The Daily Guide Network says, rice farmers, processors cry over unsold local produce. This week as well, the Interior Minister addressed a press conference and gave details of casualties recorded in the 2020 and the 2024 general elections. And this is how the News Center reported it. It says 15 dead, 40 injured in 2020 and 2024 election violence. On the same matter, that is how the Ghanaian Times newspaper also reported. It says electoral violence from 2020 to 2024, government to compensate victims, Interior Minister. MajorOnline.com says Interior Minister blames police and military for 7 deaths in 2020 and 2024 general election. Also this morning, on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, there was a sad story and a sad incident where a man killed his wife, 5 children, and decided to also commit suicide. The Daily Graphic says, husband burns wife, 5 children, suspect wife of infidelity. The Metro TV Online also reported, says, some love can be stupid. That's Titus Glover. Says, after a tricycle rider killed wife and 5 children. A sad incident there indeed. So these are the issues we'll look at this evening on what the papers are saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra.
A nation full of questions, where truth often hides behind noise, one show dares to ask what truly matters face to face. With fearless clarity and a quest for accountability, host Umaru Sanda Amadou sits down with the movers and shakers of politics, governance, society, and business, confronting the issues that define our national conversation.
The party itself has said that whenever you are in opposition, you should choose flag bearers early.
So what you are trying to tell me is that you want somebody who is going out to come and select a leader for you. So the next person will come and say, but I didn't select him.
Direct victim of attack, violent attack.
Where and when?
The first one happened in Parliament. I was pregnant.
Now, for me, it was legitimized by a radio or TV station giving her a position to work.
So for you, take issue with GH1 and what and giving her the platform.
That is where the minority is. We are on them. We've asked questions.
President Mahama will be a mean president if he prioritizes only his children and DCP. He needs to demonstrate a Ghanaian government.
Every Tuesday at 9 p.m., join Umaru Sanda Amadou on Face to Face as he digs deeper, challenges power, and reveals the stories shaping Ghana's future. Only on Channel 1 TV.
Welcome back. You're still watching What the Papers Are Saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. I'll tell you the issues we're looking at on What the Papers Are Saying today. 2 colleagues joining me, Hansen Ajimai, with us here at Channel 1 Television and City FM. and then Selom Adono also with us here at City FM and Channel 1 Television. I'll start with the issue of the Interior Minister. He addressed a press conference this week and announced that in the 2020 and the 2024 general election, there were some casualties. You know, the election recorded some casualties. And he says that 15 people died and 40 people were injured in this whole election. Let's bring to you a report filed by my colleague, Christopher Kevin Asima.
Interior Minister Muntaka Mohamed Mubarak disclosed that 4 suspects are currently in police custody, while 5 others have been remanded in connection with election-related violence recorded during the 2020 and 2024 polls. He further noted that 50 military personnel were interrogated as part of the investigation. The minister revealed that investigations established the involvement of some police and military officers in 7 out of the 15 deaths recorded nationwide.
The report took into account a number of incidents where some procedural actions were overlooked. There were instances of clear breaches of discipline, violation of legal requirement, and total neglect by officers who were either present or responsible for situations that required prompt, responsive actions. The focus is to avoid veering into areas that might confuse procedural breaches with the main mandate, which is to investigate, identify, and prosecute persons responsible for death during the 2 general elections in the years of the 2020 and 2024.
He stated that a warrant has been secured for the arrest of additional suspects still at large and called for the state to take responsibility for compensating families affected by the election-related violence.
The victims of the gunshots have suffered injuries that cause them pain, loss of resources for treatment, as well as income. Families have also lost breadwinners. The state should take up the responsibility to compensate the families who lost their breadwinners, as well as those who suffered injuries. Police should receive orientation and desist from using lethal force in crowd control situations.
The minister also disclosed that investigations into the 2020 election violence in Ododo-Diodio constituency have been completed, leading to prosecution.
The Attorney General is currently prosecuting 3 persons who are standing trials at the High Court Criminal Division, Accra. The investigation established that 3 of the cases resulting in 4 deaths are traceable to the use of firearms by armed police patrol teams. Military personnel were also found to be responsible for 3 of the cases resulting in the death of 3 persons when they intervened to restore calm to chaotic crowds.
He added that the ministry will soon undertake forensic and ballistic analysis to support ongoing investigations and assure the public that government remains committed to justice and will ensure that all individuals found culpable are held accountable.
The Minister of Interior says it will continue and complete the investigation and ensure that all culprits involved in the electoral violence in 2020 and 2024 are brought to book. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I am Christopher Kevin Asima.
That's the Interior Minister addressing the press conference this week on casualties recorded in the 2020 and the 2024 general election. My colleagues are here with me to start the conversation on this matter. Hansen, I'll start with you. When you heard about these numbers, were you surprised?
Not necessarily, because already within the media space during these elections, we had reported heavily on some of these instances. But what we needed was a confirmation on the actual number. And I think that it's good that at least we can rally with certain figures and put names and faces to these numbers. Now, these are not just numbers. These are people who have families, who sustain various homes. And so we need to imprint this in the minds of people that it is unacceptable that we'll go for an election and somebody would have to die. For 2 election cycles to have about 15 people lose their lives, over 40 injuries having been reported in just 2 election cycles in a democracy that is regarded as one of the best, if not the best, in Africa. Questions in general are resolved to preserve democracy, and we need to do something really about this. The point really has to do with the fact that, I mean, Sammi, as someone who's followed elections in Ghana, you would agree that from progressively, what has happened is that during the election and at the time of counting, there are minimal problems. Now, what we usually have is at the time of collation. And it is at the time of collation that sometimes we record some of these instances. If you remember Ablekumat Central, if you remember Ododo Diodio, if you remember Techiman South, it was at the point of collation. And so there's a need to put some concerted efforts into the election period during collation and be more deliberate about some of the things when it comes to collation. And I think one of the things we need to strengthen is education. You know, there are people who still have the idea that some counting can be done at the collation center. While the law is very clear, all counting, sorting and counting is done at the polling station. If you are dissatisfied, you can ask for a recount. If you are still dissatisfied, you can ask for another recount. It is only when you ask for that recount that at the collation center, there can be counting again. But aside that, the collation is a mathematics game. And if we are being frank and fair to ourselves, in a system where there's media attention from start of polls to the declaration of results, the calculation or tallying of results of various candidates from polling stations shouldn't be bringing us such needless debt. And I must repeat, needless debts, because all the candidates and all the parties have benefit of the results at the polling stations. Lucky for our systems, these political parties have even instituted collation systems or parallel collation systems to that of the Electoral Commission. And so it's just a matter of making the Electoral Commission's collation system more efficient. Why do I say this? You go to a collation center, ballot papers are transported to the collation center, say by 8 p.m. And at about 9 a.m. the following morning, Sammi, they are nowhere close to ending collation in that constituency. It creates anxiety. And so, and so there's a need for us to look at our collation process and to devise strategies in making it more efficient. The other thing has to do with the point of accountability. How many times haven't we reported of elections-related violence? But have people actually been held accountable? We talk about Ayahuasca West Wogon almost every time, but nothing really has happened out of that apart from the Commission of Inquiry's work. We've not seen extensive work on it. We need to hold people accountable for their actions. The Interior Minister and his presser partly attributed the situations to the actions of the security agencies. Yeah. And I believe that we need to get to a point where the internal accountability systems of the security agencies should be independent of the security agency itself and should include citizens, I mean persons who are not police officers or military officers, but have background in investigations. Yeah. And there should be briefings to the public on some of these outcomes. Persons who are found wanting, officers who are found wanting, should be penalized, and this should be made known to the entire populace. It will not only serve as a deterrent to the officers themselves, but it will also send a strong signal that if the system is not willing to spare an officer who misbehaves, what more a vigilante group member? And mind you, the situation at Ablekumanot, it's one that we should be afraid of as a people. Because the conversation after Ablikwano, what we've heard from the NPP is that they are going to prepare for the next election. What do they mean by we are going to prepare for the election, for the next election? They claim that the NDC had their vigilante groups in force, and that's the reason Ablikwano happened. You can only come to the conclusion that what they may mean, or what they mean, is that they want to bring back their vigilante groups. We've heard personalities within the party make comments to suggest so. And so, if we do not address the situation in a manner where both political parties or political actors have a certain form of confidence in the security agencies manning the polling stations and the collation centers, we will go back to the era of having vigilante groups trashing it out, and innocent Ghanaians will always become the will be at the receiving end of such incidents.
Okay. Hansi, thank you very much. I'll come to you again on. But then, Salom, is it that as a country, we still do not understand the electoral process, and we think elections are, do or die?
Well, it's more complicated than that. First of all, I mean, people behave the way they want to behave, or people may behave anyhow. But if the accountability mechanisms are not set in place, and they feel accountable for their actions, they'll continue doing that because there'll be impunity. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it was a manifesto promise that they will look into this there. So it's great that the process has started. We cannot call ourselves a serious democracy when people die, out of their, willingness, or out of their effort to elect somebody. Election is at the heart of democracy. And if somebody will have to lose their lives in trying to participate in that process, then that shouldn't be a democracy. So that's not a proper democracy. It's a mockery of democracy. So it's a great thing. If people feel that there will be accountability, if you do it, you will be held accountable. Whoever sent you may be left off the hook, and you, the person involved in the act, will be punished. People will think twice when their paymasters or their people are asking them to go and do something. Number two, it is not. I mean, it's because a lot of these people also who get engaged in these kinds of things do not value their lives. And there's this thing we say that the most dangerous person is the one who has nothing to lose. A lot of these guys who engage in these things have nothing seriously doing apart from political activism. It's a good thing to be active politically, but if you were more engaged meaningfully, you would think twice before engaging in some things. When somebody sends you to go and do the wrong thing, you will think twice. If somebody sends you to go and engage the police or fight the military, you will think twice. If somebody tells you to go and carry a ballot box and run away with it, you will think twice. If somebody tells you to go to a collation center and disrupt the process, you will think twice. So that is there. We also have to deal with the security personnel or persons who have been complicit in this. The fact that you're a security person doesn't mean that you have the license to shoot at will. There's a reason why, there are crowd dispersing mechanisms, there are crowd control mechanisms, etc. Shooting people to kill them should be the last or very last option. So that must be dealt with by the security agencies. They must be punished using their own system so that their colleagues will know that next time when they send you to a purely civilian area, you have to behave properly. And I'm happy that, we have stopped deploying military people for our elections. Election is a civil thing. Let's use the police. In many of those instances, for example, what we saw in Techiman South, a lot of the evil was perpetrated by military officers. And that cannot be good. That cannot be right. So I'm happy that this is beginning to take shape. We hope that they get to the bottom of it. So it becomes the standard that every election, if something wrong happens, people will pay for it. So it's a good start. The NCCE must be up and doing. Let's fund them properly. let them go on the ground and educate people that election is not violence. It should not be violence. If somebody sends you to go and perpetrate violence, you don't have to do it because, you know, in the end, you could be found out and you could be punished. So yes, kudos to him, but it's unfortunate that we have these numbers, 15 people dying, about 40 of them being injured in both elections. It's disgraceful and it's a mockery of our democracy, and it's certainly a dark spot on our slate as, you know, a beacon of democracy as we want to call ourselves.
And then he urges government to compensate the family. You think compensation will be enough to assuage their pain?
Well, the persons are dead or they are injured. I mean, some justice must be given them. Justice may come by way of punishing the evildoers. That gives you a sense of justice. That gives you some justice. Compensating the people also gives them some sense of justice as well, because maybe for some of them they have kids. And if maybe a 30-year-old, a 28-year-old has a 2-3-year-old at home, goes to vote, something happens, he or she is killed. You know, the 3-year-old or the 2-year-old he has left, you know, becomes a burden on the family and society. So you compensating them at least gives the family some amount of money to do one or two for the child, at least for some time. If they are smart and the money is good enough, they can invest it into something, or maybe the mothers can get that money, use it for something to help them go in at least for some time. But some justice is important, very important. Compensation is not out of the way. And if government feels responsible for these things, next time government will also open its eyes and ensure that we do not get here again to spend money compensating people.
The compensation is the right order?
I think that they ought to be compensated, but it shouldn't be presented as though we are exchanging their lives for the money. And so compensation should not be picked ahead of looking for the perpetrators and punishing them. The statement and the directive or the recommendation to government should be, yes, compensate the families, but at all costs, find the perpetrators and punish them.
So look at it. I'm just reading a report. It says 3 incidents leading to 4 deaths were linked to armed police patrol teams. 3 cases resulting in 3 deaths involved military personnel, and 4 incidents that caused 5 deaths were attributed to the use of firearms by political party supporters. I mean, the state, actors of the state, police, military, cannot be involved in this. Political parties themselves must be more responsible than they are. And I get worried, I mean, going into 2028 because of all the things we are hearing. We need to de-escalate. We need to punish these people very well so that in 2028, people will know that, you know, violence will be punished. I'm also interested really in knowing what has happened to the guys who disrupted portions of the Ablekuma elections and all of that. If we are serious about punishing those people, you know, I don't think that the scale of it will be this huge going into 2020.
I thought they went to court.
They went to court.
They went to court. They were fined.
They were fined.
That's a slap on the wrist.
Yes,
I mean, that was a slap on the
but
wrist.
I'm saying if you consider the situations, there were far grave offences that they could have been charged with. But obviously, so that's one of the things that we need to look out for going to 2028. And as I've indicated, the commentary particularly that is coming from the NPP side, saying that they're going to go back, some of the persons that within the NPP who seek to claim that they are going back to the old days where they have their standby security. All portends doom for 2028 if you don't deal with these things before the pressure in 2028.
You're still watching what the papers are saying, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our conversation.
This November, Something amazing is coming to Accra. Are you a farmer with fresh produce? Are you into fish farming, poultry or livestock? Then get ready for the November edition of the AgriFair 2025. Yes, AgriFair 2025. It's happening on Friday the 28th to Sunday the 30th of November. It's happening at the A4 Children's Park and it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. It's the ultimate weekend marketplace. From fruits and vegetables to poultry, livestock and fish to agri-inputs and processing machinery. All at unbeatable farm gate prices. Whether you're selling or buying, this is your chance to connect, trade and grow. Enjoy the freshest farm produce, sizzling kebabs, and a vibrant marketplace atmosphere all in one space. Register now and secure your spot. Call 0558-973-973 for more information. AgriFair 2025, where culture meets innovation. AgriFair 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 City FM and is proudly sponsored by Horticulture Business Platform, Development Bank Ghana, Legacy Crop Improvement Center, and Gersel.
You're welcome back. You're still watching What the Papers Are Saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. My name is Sammi Wiafe. I'm here with two of my colleagues, Saloma Dunu, with us here at City FM Channel 1 Television, and Hansen Ajimai, also here with us at City FM and Channel 1 Television. This week, a member of parliament came under fire. He was accused, or is accused of, leading a group to attack the NIMOS group, or the NIMOS team, the team set up by government to fight illegal mining, made up of military men or soldiers, if you want to put it. The member of parliament has been called before the CID. He's gone to court and he's been granted bail of 150,000 cedis. The court has asked him not to leave Accra because he's a member of parliament for Esunetifi North, somewhere in the Ahafo region. Also, and so he's been banned not to leave Accra because the police CID can call him anytime for interrogation. The issue came on the floor of Parliament. The Speaker spoke about it, and members of Parliament also engaged in a debate over which political party is more involved in illegal mining or galamsey. Salam, I'll come back to you on this matter. The member of Parliament has been accused of leading a group. He's denied it. He said he only went there to intervene in this incident, but then the police CID says they are investigating the matter. Speaker says no MP is above the law, and then he will do what is expected of him should the matter come, at hand as far as investigations are concerned.
Yeah, Speaker is right. I mean, Speaker shouldn't be shielding MPs when they get themselves involved in funny situations. Of course, I do not know that indeed the MP is complicit, but prima facie, I mean, he has questions to answer, and I'm very happy about the swiftness of the response. Very swift, and it's been arraigned before court, or arraigned already, and the court processes have kicked in. That is great, Being an MP is a position of responsibility. There are privileges the MPs enjoy, and the more privileges you have, the more responsibilities you carry. And it is unfortunate that persons in these positions of responsibility will allegedly be compromised in this sense. We are all concerned about galamsey, and if there's a government agency which was greeted with a lot of skepticism from the beginning, NIMOS, is beginning to make some inroads, an MP from a governing party especially should be seen supporting the efforts of that body so that we deal with the scourge of galamsey. Of course, I'm happy about the fact that due process is taking place and that the MP will have his day in court. The MP will have the opportunity to defend himself. I'm not saying he's guilty. He says he went there to control or to stop the mob or the crowd.
Said he was going for a funeral.
And he has to prove that to the court. Of course, the state will have to prove it. But once the burden shifts, he also has something to respond to. And it is going to be a tall order because, I mean, the narrative, it's so much against him. And those who have watched videos say that the videos speak something contrary to what he's saying. You know, and he said that he was sent by Collins Dowda, who is MP for Situfi South, you know, to come and cause the release of some persons. So how do you cause the release of persons and people who have been caught in the act of galamsey, an illegal act, which is a problem for everybody? The police and NIMOS doing their job have arrested those people and brought them to the police station. So how does a lawmaker get to the police station on the so-called, you know, instruction of his colleague MP and maybe senior MP? Yeah. Ask the police or want the police to release them. I don't get that. How does the police release them? They are wrongdoers. And they are the people we've been looking for, including their kingpins. Why should the police release them? I don't get that part. So he has to come clean on that part. We condemn the attacks by the mob on the police. Yeah. We should not encourage that. We should not encourage that. And, you know, the ministry is trying to make us feel that this was an isolated incident. The communications outfit of the ministry, in condemning this, creates the impression as if this is an isolated incident of attack on NIMOS. Yes, NIMOS, it may be the first time, but it is not the first time state institutions trying to fight galamsey have been attacked. I was reading the article by Kaba, our own Kaba, and he details that in June 2025, an anti-galamsey task force was attacked at a conference in the Chumwa Mponia district in Ashanti region. In 2023, violence erupted at Nyinam police station after the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners arrested 2 illegal miners. And recently, in August 2025, clashes at Bontesu and the Amansé South District Ashanti region between illegal miners and law enforcement resulted in multiple arrests. So there appears to be a pattern of, you know, confrontation between the wrongdoers, the illegal miners, and law enforcers. Yeah. And that is a great danger. The fact that they are bold to engage law enforcers should make us worried. The issue about resource, the fight about resource, is a huge one. And if we do not take care, and of course it's happening already, these guys are getting militarized. Yeah. These guys are getting armed. So when they get armed, and now our security persons are afraid or scared to fight them, then we are in big danger, because they will do it with impunity. Of course, we see when we are traveling towards the eastern region, etc., we see them mining by the roadside, behind the police station, etc., all of that, because the police are afraid. A police station located very far away from town, and just behind the police station, there are galamsey workers, excavators working. How many police personnel are there? How armed are they? They cannot stand the force of these illegal miners who are armed. And indeed, when they searched the vehicles that came to the site, they found ammunition in them. How did they get the ammunition? What were the ammunition for? So that is a concern we must have. And it is great that the CID is taking over the matter. It is great that they are taking the MP through the process. If he's guilty, let him be dealt with in accord with law. If he's innocent, let him be freed. We are happy about that. But what I do not also understand about the bail condition is the fact that he should not leave Accra. Why shouldn't he leave Accra? Why shouldn't he leave Accra? He's an MP until you find him guilty, until he goes to jail, until the by-election is declared. He's an MP. Why shouldn't he leave Accra? Is he an MP in Accra?
The CID may want him for interrogation, and by the time they need him, he may not be in Accra. He may be in his constituency.
Just say that anytime you need him, he should be available. He's an MP. You are dealing with a number of people. So, you know, the thing didn't even happen in Accra. It happened somewhere close in his constituency. You know, what is the reason for not going to the constituency? Is it because when he goes there, if he goes there, he will be attacked? Or just because you need him for interrogation, he should not go to his constituency? What do you mean by that? If it takes you 2 years to conclude the investigation, and that will not be strange, because we've seen investigations that have lasted many years, Ahmed Swale, only for the state to come and tell us that they have discontinued it. Right? If it lasts for a long time, you tell me he shouldn't go to his constituency? I don't find that, reasonable enough, unless there's something I'm missing. What you should say is, his MP should continue doing his job, but anytime you need him, he should make himself available. And that should be on reasonable terms. If I need you in a few hours, I should see you. Maybe I need you tomorrow, I tell you today. That is enough time for you to come. He's a member of parliament. Even though he's found himself in this tricky situation, we must be careful we do not judge him before the courts pronounce him, so. He has a duty to his people. He has a duty by the constitution to represent his people. So if he has a parliamentary duty to perform, by meeting his constituents and responding to their calls, he should stay in Accra and say, the CID says I should not go to Accra. That I find very funny.
Answer, are we gradually finding or gradually looking at a scenario where community members are resisting the fight against illegal mining? Are we getting there?
Some illegal miners clash with military police at Konongo mining site. If I ask you to guess the date, what date are you going to guess?
I'm not good at guessing.
So this is on 9th July 2009.
Okay.
So
2009.
2009. As far back as 2009, Galamseyers were clashing with military officers. In 2025, they are clashing with military officers. So there's nothing new here, but for the fact that there's the involvement of a member of parliament accused of one way or the other inciting the youth or members of the community to clash with the NIMOS team. And I make this point to say that it is important that we tackle this issue, because aside the environmental degradation with respect to illegal mining, we have situations of deaths where people, for instance, somebody might drown or a pit might collapse on that person. There are, for want of better description, intra-Galamsey camp attacks. And as I've indicated, at some form of confrontation between the state security and mining communities. Reasons could be that the mining communities believe that the actions of the state is indeed affecting their livelihood. There are instances where these persons just want to resist the attempt by government to fight illegal mining. But the power of the state will have to overcome these persons. And that is why we need to send strong signals out there that the state is not going to countenance anything of a sort. And that is why I'm a bit cautious in commending the security apparatus for the arraignment, because we've witnessed instances where arraignments are used as a cover to deflect public attention from an issue. And from how the matter is, it might not be a straightforward issue, because from what we are hearing from reporters and from the police and even from the minors team, it looks like a straightforward incitement on the part of the MP. And here's an MP who has denied it, roped in another MP saying that this particular MP asked him to go there. To what extent are they involved in the operations? Is it just indeed a matter of exercising his responsibility as a leader to reduce tensions, or these persons are using their authority and using their influence to aid some of these things? And that is why I think that there's a need for transparency or transparent inquiry into the incident. I say this because we've heard of attacks, and you would usually hear that there's this political figure behind this attack. But in most of the instances where we've reported of these attacks, we don't find the political figure present at the scene. we've had a situation where now we have a political figure present at a scene. The narrative from the part of the security agencies is different from that of his. And that is why we need that transparent inquiry to send certain signals. One, to indicate that indeed the Mahama government really is up in arms for this particular fight against illegal mining. It is no mean a person, but a member of parliament of the government. And so how transparent and how effective the investigations will go will give certain signals. Aside this, there's also the need to look at the fact that if you look at conversations around illegal mining before the election, after the elections, everything has shown that the push factors for illegal mining moves beyond a particular government. And whether there's MPP or NDC, if specific steps are not taken to fight illegal mining, the practice will still exist. And that is why there's a need for us to look at the need to address some of these issues, and also look at the security concerns that border the attacks between communities as well as the security agencies who are fighting these problems. The member of parliament, he says that he's willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
Government, the parliament itself as an institution says he's willing to cooperate. We need to give him the benefit of the doubt as the system expects of everybody for him to go through it fairly. But the transparency with which we would push this will go a further way to boost government or the perception that people have about government's commitment to the fight against illegal mining.
Hansen, thank you very much. Hansen Ajamai there. Well, City FM and Channel 1 Television has started a campaign for local rice again. It comes on the back of the rice glut that we've seen across the length and breadth of the country. We bring in reports from our reporters scattered all over the place about how farmers and processors are struggling as far as local produce of rice is concerned. Now, farmers are, planning or have announced plans to boycott this year's Farmers' Day celebration, which is expected to take place, I think, on the 5th of December. And they say that if government does not intervene, they will not be a part of the celebration. Why would they want to be a part of a celebration that doesn't take the farmers seriously as far as rice production is concerned? We'll have a discussion on this matter. Hansen, you just left it, but let me come back to you. The local farmers, the complaint is that they produce the rice, Ghanaians don't buy, government must intervene. Is it like we don't have a taste for local rice and we want to have the imported rice?
I think that we perhaps have gone beyond the conversations about the fact that people do not have a taste for local rice. I mean, you remember the campaign. This is not the first time CTFM is raging a campaign as far as local rice consumption is concerned.
Why people they'll buy it?
No, there's the issue about, because it used to be about the presentation and about the taste. There have been certain groups that have been able to work on the presentation and on the taste. But there's a big challenge with respect to pricing. And that is why you would hear some of the rice producers say that they need a temporary ban on the importation of rice into the country, because then the imported rice now tend to be cheaper or relatively cheaper to the local rice. And it means that we need to look at our production chain to look at what is causing that problem. Because then now we have the solution to the presentation of the rice to make it more appealing and the taste to make people like it. And so what we need to do is to consistently invest in the value chain, particularly the distribution aspect of it, to make sure that at the end of the day, the prices are competitive compared to what are imported. If the prices are competitive, I don't think that we would have the situation as we have it now. And anytime there's a glut, the option that we will usually go for is for government to purchase it. And even though it acts as a temporary relief to the farmers, it has shown from time to time, incidents have shown that that is not sustainable enough. And so I think that we need to look at ways to make it more competitive and to push it more into the market for people to purchase it.
Salam.
Well, it's great that people are producing rice. It's great that we have a lot of rice. But like it is everywhere, there should be deliberate government policy to protect our farmers. And it is not a fault of these farmers. Of course, there is a Ghanaian mentality of profiteering, etc., that we can talk about, at another time. But when you listen to the concerns, the cost of production is high. And they said at the time they were producing, the cedi was performing very poorly against the dollar. So cost of fertilizer and things were affected by the exchange rate. So they bought them at very high, cost or prices. Just when the thing was ready, the cedi had appreciated so much against the dollar. Now, making what they have produced, the cost of their production, very high, which must reflect in the prices or in the pricing. So a bag of local rice now is very expensive. Now, because the cedi is doing well, or the cedi is stabilized or stronger, cost of imports become cheaper. So at that stage, an ordinary person going to the market will have to make a choice. And often, it is not a patriotic choice. It is an economic choice. So if I'm going to buy a bag of imported rice, let's say at 100 cedis, and they have the economies of scale, they're able to produce in large numbers. And so they're able to spread the cost of production such that it is not so much on each bag. Now you have a situation where you have produced at very high rate of prices in Ghana, and this exchange rate situation has changed. We are happy that the cedi is stronger or getting stronger and stabilizing, but that's the downside of it. That's how come it's not a good thing for the cedi to be to get too strong sharply. All right. So now you have people who have produced at expensive rates, and their prices it must show their pricing. People are importing, which is cheaper now, because the cedi is stronger. And so the people are preferring the imported rice. Already, there needs to be a proper campaign. There was the need for a proper campaign to conscientize people to change behavior towards local rice. Now you have that you're trying or you're struggling to do. And now the issue of pricing comes in. If the prices were the same, prices were generally around the same figures, but we were struggling with the behavioral change, the change of attitude, and the change of taste. Then now the issue of pricing comes is an economic issue. So government must step in and put in place some key policies to protect our people. Buffer stock buying the glut is great. Our farmers too must know that it's an economic decision, not a patriotic decision people will make. So they are careful about how they price. The Ghanaian businessman prices, too sharply and is too, profit-minded. That is there. Government must also, put in place certain measures, must make importation of rice more expensive, must slap more taxes on rice importation, must make it more difficult for people to import rice into the country. We may not say a ban, but make it more difficult. Raise tariffs on them, raise taxes. Let it be more difficult so that it will be counterproductive for people to be, importing in those volumes. If you don't do that, you kill your local industry. And it is your local industry that will grow your economy. That is where the jobs are. That is what will ensure that if you produce enough and you export, you have foreign exchange to support the cedi. So there's all the argument to be made for the local rice industry. Government must take it seriously and make the strong decisions of restricting importation of local rice. There are many tools that government can use to do so.
Assuming government decides that, okay, for the next 6 months or say 1 year, I'm banning the importation of, rice. Let's do local rice. Will our farmers have the capacity to meet the demands that will come?
No, you see, now we have a glut. So that is why governments are there. Government must assess the volumes we have. Government has data. In fact, even private people have data. We are able to quantify how much, rice we consume in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, in 6 months. We should have a sense of how much the glut is. Buffer stock should buy it. It's a value chain issue as well. If government wants to do it, I believe government has the capacity to do it. And it's not a ban or a restriction that will be forever. It is just to deal with the situation. And you ease it gradually up to a certain point so that our farmers are empowered. Because they will keep producing. If they keep producing and they are not buying, it's discouraging because some of them go for loans from banks to finance their farms. That becomes a problem for them. And so the good thing you're trying to do by encouraging more people to go into rice farming, local rice farming, will become, will come to naught because you would have become a victim of your own success in terms of the strength of the city. But that which we are seeing now is an unintended consequence of the strength of the city. And government must have the capacity to put all of this together and make it make sense. Making sense means that our people do not suffer. Our local rice farmers do not suffer, but they are rather encouraged to do more. Because if we don't take it, what will happen is that next year they will say, okay, because they lost, they will not farm so much. Yeah. And that is where we will begin to have a problem.
Hasan, the other counter argument is that, the importation of rice is a business of some, companies. If government decides to, let's say, place a ban on it, it's affecting some companies, it's affecting inflow of foreign exchange to the country, the economic effect and the rest.
So that's why in all things, you would usually have a roadmap and have an end game, the short-term vision and the long-term vision. Because if there's the potential for our farmers to produce, to cater for our demand, then gradually we need to have the policies that will make sure that not necessarily phase out the importers of foreign rice, but policies that would deliberately enhance or motivate the local farmers to be more competitive. Of course, we say that we exist in a competitive environment. You talk about people's businesses and importing. If you make the local rice production chain profitable, it will only make business sense that those people who are importing should channel their monies into the local production. And so it's just a matter of government policy, the deliberateness with which you want to do this, and the roadmap that will practically lead us to the long-term vision.
This is what the papers are saying, coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. Gentlemen, quickly before we go, this sad story of, a gentleman killing his wife, 5 children, and then committing suicide at the end. Salam, quick one.
Well, it's a sad story, like you said, but it reveals the deeper problems in society. It reveals deeper cultural issues as well, and it's also an indication of how people can be crazy. And so when people make threats, I understand the gentleman made threats. When people make threats, we don't have to take them for granted. And society must come alive. When people make threats, that way you report them, so that they are dealt with. The threat may be empty, but if you report them and they go through the whole process of being investigated before they are set free, next time when they are talking, they are careful. So when a person makes a threat, the person will only make it when the person is serious, and then you deal with him. It's unfortunate that the whole family's life will have to come to an end that way, and the gentleman who should be punished to serve as deterrent also goes to kill himself. And so it becomes a useless matter. It's unfortunate, and we need to take mental health seriously. Institutions of mental health must be up and doing. If somebody has a little issue and the person wants to seek help, we don't have to think that the person is crazy.
Yeah.
That's why the person is seeking mental health help. We need to get mental health officers all over the place, and we need to find a way of getting clergy and opinion leaders involved in marital matters, etc., to ensure that these things don't happen again.
Asin, final thought on this matter?
I think it exposes the fact that we don't have a proper help system. And these are all aspects, regardless of how you see it, somebody needed help. A help that was not extended, which has led to this. And we need to normalize mental health. And I think that has to do with the education and culturally imbibing that in the people. Will anybody walk to a hospital and say that I think I'm depressed, or I think that this is wrong with me, which is not a physical illness or a biological illness, but a mental illness? You would only see people do that when it has gotten to advanced stages. But every single one of us is going through some issue that he or she needs to speak to someone. And so it's important for our own sake. Sammi, for your sake, because you are going through problems that you need to speak to someone.
Mental health issues.
You are going through that, but because of how we have demonized mental health, you yourself cannot seek help.
I hear you.
We need to normalize mental health.
I'll go seek help. Solomon, I'll go seek help. Hasan Ajimai, with that submission. Earlier you heard Solomon Adonu. My name is Sammi Wiafe. I brought you another exciting edition of What the Papers Are Saying. That came to you live from our studios here in Accra. So we come your way again next week. May the good Lord be with us all.
Hello and welcome to Lifeline Conversations, a place where we explore very important topics that contribute to the growth of our families, our faith, and most importantly, our future. You are most welcome once again. Today, we want to continue from where we left off in the last episode, talking about emotional emptiness. Those of you who are married, you can agree with me that there are times that you feel disconnected from your spouse. There are times that you don't have any emotions. There are times that you feel a little disappointment, disillusion, and you feel that you are not getting what you sign up for. We will be delving deeper into this all-important subject matter. But first of all, we want to take a quick break, and when we come back, my wonderful guest will be introduced and then we take off. Don't go away. We will be back soon.
Coming soon from GH Media Productions is So So.
Abstain. Why abstain?
I have been seeing through your shenanigans all night. I thought I told you that I didn't want to see that girl in this house again.
A mixed bag of emotions and incidents, Ghanaian family and intergenerational drama. Some not so good.
That boy, that womanizer.
You are old enough. I would like you to man up.
In other cases, not so bad.
So does he see in her that he's not seeing in me? Look at me.
Eugene and Aneke made their choice.
You won't believe what Pam and Aneke have done to me.
Watch out for So So, a brand new series from GH Media Productions, showing on Channel 1 TV.
Welcome back, dear friends. I am excited about this subject because in the last episode, our guest was very resourceful and shared her rich experience with us, and we are happy to have her today as well. Apioko, you are welcome once again.
Thank
we
you.
are happy to have you again.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. So, emotional emptiness. You know, the last episode, I ended by saying that one of the things that I can say shocked me. You know, my husband and I, when we were dating, even when we were courting, we would go out together every Friday night. And now all of a sudden we're married and it becomes a boys' night. How did that even happen? And I remember asking myself, which young wife would accept this? A lot of women would not sit for this. But he is a very free spirit, and he will do what he wants to do, as will I. So it's like two stubborn people, you know, coming together, and something has to give. So I remember the very clear is one of these Friday nights, and I said to myself, you know what, you're going to have to find your own hobbies. You're going to have to find your own Friday night rituals. This isn't something that should cause so many problems that now it's a rift between you. We're already dealing with the honeymoon phase of things, and it's wearing off. So why should this be an issue? So I really had to sit down and ask myself what I would do on Friday night. He has many more friends than I do. I mean, and when I say boys, I keep saying it because he literally is a boys kind of guy. Went to pre-sec, very proud of daddy. He's a global executive. He's involved in everything. He's that kind of friend. When you need him, he will show up. He will do everything in his power to be there for you. That he takes his friendships very seriously. I, on the other hand, I know a lot of people, but I have very few friends. And there's a tendency, even when I was growing up, my parents, people say, oh, you have a lot of friends. I don't. I have very few friends, but I know a lot of people. And I'm also a very affable person, but there's also a part of me that is very much an introvert. So sometimes, now we know that the psychologists will say that you can be an ambivert, half extrovert and half introvert, and I'm very much so. There are days if I'm at home, I don't come out of my room, I don't even see the hall. You know, I do that, you know. So I had to say to myself that my Friday nights needed to look different. Did it mean that I also needed my own sets of friends? Maybe. Did it mean that I needed to be more deliberate about planning that part of the week so that I wouldn't go home and feel lonely and left out? Maybe. But bottom line, I needed to do something. So what I started doing was exploring different recipes on Friday nights. So I'll have different, you know, because cooking is very therapeutic for me. And so for that matter, I must also say that maybe it was a shock for my husband. I don't cook if I don't feel like it. No, apart from when it comes to the children. Because I don't want what is my escape to now become an albatross. No, so we cook for survival, the food is there, but Friday nights I'll explore different things. I have herbs that I'm growing on my, whether it's the akoko mesa, the basil, the rosemary, they're on my windowsill in the kitchen, play with them. I may have tasted something, I try to reconstruct the taste in my head and just tune out. Or I write. Or if I have to go out, I go out. And that really solved an impending problem in our marriage. I'm telling you, because I was becoming a little nag about it. I really was. And I just had to stop myself and say, is this necessary? He does everything he has to do for you. He's present, he supports you. You've seen what other young couples are going through, young women in marriage are going through. Does this have to be a fight? It doesn't. And it's never been an issue since. So maybe what I'll say to you is, how can people get to the point? Because it was a difficult thing to do, and I acknowledge that not everybody, based on the expectations that they had when they were going into marriage, may be able to stop themselves and say, no, you are being unfair, or this is not something that you cannot find a compromise for. How do you get to that space where you say to yourself, I must compromise, I must find my own hobbies, I must be myself?
Now, I love the word compromise. You see, marriage is work. Marriage is responsibility. Marriage is rolling up your sleeves and getting to work. Marriage is giving up some form of interest or rights for peace to prevail. It's important that you have raised this question again, because what happened to you, I believe, is happening to a lot of people. I love to play soccer. I love to watch soccer. It's like my second passion. Even when I travel, I like to look for a place where I can sweat, I can play my soccer. Maybe if I hadn't become a preacher, I would have become a footballer.
You sound like my husband, because he too doesn't compromise on his soccer.
You know, and so that is me, okay? Now I am married. How do I keep my sense of individuality in the union? How am I able to connect very well, even though I still want to express my individuality? 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 7. Now scripture says each of us have different gifts, and God celebrates our differences. But what I see, especially in African or Ghanaian marriages, is that we like to stifle people out. We like to suppress people, our spouses, our partners. And especially women are the victims here. You know, we like to push them into our space, and we like to make the rules and make sure they flow along. And no, let me first of all say that allow your spouse to be him or herself. He or she had hobbies. He or she had interests. He or she had goals and aspirations before they got married. So allow them to express themselves in those areas. Allow them to be different. Allow them